So I wanted to wait until I returned home to make this video, but I've been seeing everywhere that Sparkle is now the most broken character or the most broken character coming to the game. Yo, what up, Toshi here. Now, Sparkle, Hanabi, whatever you want to call the character, she's a character that's just going to be very valuable for Monoquantum mostly, but she's going to be very nice in outside of Monoquantum, right? Because that's what every single Harmony character has been. If we exclude Ranmei, right? You can use Yukong outside of imaginary teams, but is she going to be best in slot there? Not really. You can use Asta outside of dual DPS and fire teams now, but going forward, when Relic does exist, Asta seems to be the dedicated fire buffer now. Sparkle, Hanabi, is going to be best in Monoquantum, but she's going to be nice outside of it too. Let's hop into today's video. So Bronya was actually going to be placeholding my stats for Hanabi, but since my Bronya is built, I do not feel like switching around relics because Honkai Star still does not have artifact or relic loadouts. Funny enough, Genshin Impact is going to be getting relic loadouts, and we haven't even got that yet. I'm going to just show you the build I have in my Asta, which contains my Hanabi's gear. Now, we know a few things about Hanabi. She's a character that scales off of crit damage, just like Bronya. We obviously knew she was going to be similar to Bronya just because they're making the Harmony characters coming out, the limited Harmony characters, to end up being better than Bronya in some specific teams. Like, for instance, Bronya is going to be replaced in Monoquantum with the release of Sparkle Hanabi. Ranmei is replacing Bronya in DPS, dual DPS teams, or teams where you need more skill points, right? I have 154 speed right now. The truth is, I do not know the base speed of Hanabi. It could be 100, it could be 110. Who knows what the base speed is of the character? I haven't dove that deep into the leaks for the character, I will say that, and I don't plan on doing so. I have 151 crit damage. Keep in mind that Asta doesn't have any crit damage traces, so therefore Hanabi should have way more crit damage than this if we include her traces. Then I have 36 effect resistance. Now take into consideration that just like Bronya, I'm sure this character will have effect resistance in the traces, so therefore the effect resistance should be higher than this. I would say about 10% higher, allowing you to take advantage of the Planar set to increase your effective resist and give crit damage to the team. That's very valuable with Hanabi. Because I'm a loser and I don't feel like farming outside of Monoquantum or outside the Quantum Domain, I am going to use the 4-piece Jalen's Brilliant Stars set. Now this increases your quantum damage and it ignores the enemy's defenses. It is very good for every quantum character in the game that deals damage. One more thing to take into consideration is if Hanabi is a character like Bronya that wants to weave in those basic attacks on the enemy, because I expect her to be a character that does not do any damage with her ultimate and doesn't do any damage with her elemental skill. Therefore, you're able to do a little bit of decent damage on the character, especially if she scales with crit damage, and maybe she has a 100% chance to crit with her basic attack like Bronya. However, I was just targeting crit damage and speed, but I was using whatever I had on my account. I have a bunch of speed stats, very, very solid. Crit damage with speed, HP. She most likely doesn't do any damage, so I am probably coping with the 4-piece Genius Brilliant Stars set on the character, but I am just using the pieces because these ended up being the ones that I farmed in the process of other characters. Effect resistance, HP, this is so good for the character on speed boost, amazing. And then I have a quantum damage boost. I really didn't want this, but this is all I had from the Penaconi set. I am hoping for an HP percent with speed and crit damage and effect res, but hey, you can't really wish for everything in this game when it comes to relics. You kind of just use what you have. And as for the link rope, I do not have an energy regeneration rate link rope. I will be using that on the character because she is a Harmony character, therefore she's going to have a very expensive ultimate. So you want to give that character as much energy as possible. HP percent on the character from the link rope, not optimal. Planetary Rendezvous is going to be very solid on the character. You give a lot of damage bonus to the team, and for a character that already provides crit damage, this damage bonus is going to be very nice with your quantum characters that also do damage in the team. So this is where we talked about the Silver Wolf DPS. This is where we talked about Fu Xuan doing damage, and your Seal or QQ, depending on which character you want to use alongside Hanabi. Well, every character in the team will be contributing to the overall damage for the team comp. So having a damage increase for everyone on the field is going to be very, very nice. So my Hanabi has to be the fastest character. She has to have the best stat value or stat distribution overall because she's going to be the one holding up the team here. And with you having a character like Bronya built, most of you know the importance of having your Bronya be faster than your damage dealer. because you want your Harmony character to buff your damage dealer up and keep up with your characters. If you have a character like Seal, for instance, Seal is very fast, and therefore I need my Hanabi to keep up with the speed of my Seal, because who knows if Hanabi has buffs that are dependent on her own turns. This is the standard monoquantum team, and Hanabi is going to be in the last slot. Seal and QQ are two very similar characters. Seal eats up as many skill points as QQ, whether or not she defeats the enemy and gets an additional turn. She will be consuming skill points whenever she uses her elemental skill because of how fast she ends up becoming, with her elemental skill increasing her overall speed, and you wanting to meet that 160 speed you need in order to utilize the damage bonus you get from the Planar set on the character. So with that being said, since these two characters are very similar to one another, Daniel is most likely going to be a character that synergizes very well with Hanabi, because any character that works for QQ is going to work for him as well, because they both pretty much function the same exact way. With Daniel, you want your allies to go before the character. If you have this character on speed, obviously he's going to play a little differently, but having allies take the turn before Daniel means you'll have more skill points to work with whenever Daniel does take his turn. So just like QQ, you want your allies to go before the character so that you give QQ more tiles, and that pretty much functions the same way as Daniel. Furthermore, if you are using the monoquantum team, you can actually just slot in Daniel in place of your monoquantum damage dealer. Every character in the team is going to take advantage of all of the buffs that Hanabi provides for the team as quantum characters, and furthermore, Daniel's still going to have one of the best supporters for him, because again, if that support works with QQ, then that character is also going to work with Daniel because they function the same exact way. So I think one of the coolest things about this is that all of your damage dealers no longer need, or really never need, a speed boost to begin with, but now with a character just like Bronya, or functions the same way as Bronya, right? We can only assume that she does, then she's going to work in the favor of having your damage dealers be put onto attack percentage boots. For those of you that aren't already doing that, well, now is the opportunity to be able to do so. So there you have it, that's my Hanabi build, and that's essentially how I'm going to build the character and who I'm going to slot the character with. The first team is obviously going to be monoquantum, but then you have the variants with other quantum characters, right? You don't have to use Silverwolf. I mean, you do have to use Silverwolf in the party, but if the enemy is already weak to quantum, you can actually put in another damage dealer in place of Silverwolf and maybe end up putting out more damage depending on how valuable that character works alongside your other damage dealer and Sparkle, right? Hanabi. The next team is going to be with Daniel because Daniel works like QQ. So we assume that Sparkle or Hanabi is a character that buffs QQ, well then therefore that character will also work with Daniel. So then you have the monoquantum or the Daniel variant featuring him. You can use Silverwolf, but you can use other characters like Yukong in place of Silverwolf. If you have Eidolon 6 for the character, then she becomes a much more enticing character to use alongside Daniel. Or maybe Bronya and Hanabi work together alongside Daniel. It depends on everything that character offers. If she's like Ruan Mei and helps with the skill point management of the team, then she will become a much more enticing character to use alongside Bronya. But only time will tell if that stands true. Thank you for watching and have a nice rest of your day. Peace.